Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Mr. Jim Countryman and Miss Erin Harpe.
Two, one, two, three. Here's what I said, everyone that I met. Can you spare me a nickel? Can you spare me a lousy dime? Spare me a nickel or a lousy dime. Can you spare me a nickel or a lousy dime? So I can feed that hungry man of mine. Ooh, 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 ooh. Took him down to my cabaret. I took him down to my cabaret. There we ate and drank till the break of day. One thing I like about that man of mine. One thing I like about that man of mine. Treats me good and loves me all the time. Well, it treats me good and loves me all the time. This is one I used to play growing up with my dad. It's the Fishin' Blues. Well, I went down the river about 12 o'clock. Went back and got me a pole. Went to the highway, got me a hook. Attached that pole right on that hook. Tell you've been fishing all the time, I'm going fishing too. Bet your life your loving wife is gonna catch more fish than you. Well, any fish hungry, didn't know what to do. I'm gonna catch me a catfish too. Yeah, you've been fishing all the time. I'm gonna fishing too. Bet your life, loving wife is gonna catch more fish than you. Well, any fish will bite if you got good bait. And here's a little something I would like to relate. Any fish will bite if you got good bait. I'm going fishing, yes, I'm going fishing, and my baby's going fishing too. Well, put it in a skillet, lay it by the lid. Mama's gonna cook a little shortening bread. Tell you been fishing all the time. I'm gonna go fishing too. Bet your life, your loving wife is gonna catch more fish than you. Well, any fish will bite if you got good bait. Here's a little something I would like to relate. Any fish bite if you got good bait. I'm going fishing, yes, I'm going fishing. Baby's going fishing too. I'm going fishing, yes, I'm going fishing. Baby's going fishing too. I'm going fishing, yes, I'm going fishing. And my baby's going fishing too. Yeah, yeah. You know how it feels when nothing works out. Lord, it makes me really want to scream and shout. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. Don't know the reason why. I was 10 feet tall 'cause I just got paid. Can't even cover my bills today. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. Don't know the reason why. Work it. Try every day and I work very hard. The things that happen don't get me started. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. I'm a hard luck woman. Don't know the reason why. Keep working. I'm a hard luck woman, don't know the reason why. Yeah, I'm a hard luck woman, don't know the reason why.
Hello and welcome to another edition of Talkin' Tunes. I am your host, Frank Walsh. Thanks for tuning in today. Now folks, the music that you just heard is going to be going all the way to Memphis in about 2 weeks because Jim and Erin are the winners of the New Hampshire Blues Society Award for Best Solo Duo. They are well known around the local region. They have played all over the country, and I'm sure that they've hopped on a plane or two and traveled all over the world. So we're going to learn about their music. We're going to learn a little bit about them. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce to you once again, Erin Harpe, Jim Countryman. Thank you, guys. Thanks for coming on.
All right, Frank, thank you.
It's been a while. I know we had talked about this in the past, and I said,
right.
you got to come on the show one of these days. I think it was back in the day when you were playing here in Stoughton, right?
Yep.
I think
You were
so.
playing here in Stoughton. You were playing over at the Temple with Rabbi Jay.
That's right. That was a great show.
Yeah, that was about 4 or 5 years ago, I believe.
I think it was more than that.
Was it that long?
I think it might have been 6 or 7 years
Really?
ago.
We were playing with.
It was
we
before
had
the
a
before
different
COVID.
lineup.
Really?
We had a different harmonica player, and we had that was when Sonny Jim Clifford and Richard Rosenblatt were playing with us.
Richie Rosenblatt, yep.
And actually, there was another great harp player on that show, which was Jason Ritchie. Came all the way up.
Ritchie.
So that was a
What
fun
was the
show.
Harmonica Summit? I think it was called that, wasn't it?
Yeah, they had a couple of other harmonica
I think you're
players
right.
got up there and ripped it. That was just a phenomenal show,
Yeah.
you know.
It was fun times, that's for sure.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they had to stop them about, I think it was 2 years ago. They had some issues with leases or the parish or something. I don't know what was going on, but that was fun. Well, first of all, again, thanks for coming on. And secondly, congratulations for your big win. You went up to New Hampshire and you competed in the solo duo competition and you won, and you were going to go to Memphis. How do you feel about that? Talk a little about that trip going down to Memphis, because you've been there before, right?
Yeah, we're excited. We've this is our second time representing the Granite State Blues
Yeah.
Society, and we've also been down a few times for the Boston Blues Society, because you know the blues scene in New England it's kind of one blues scene, right? We've
Right.
got bands. We travel around
Right.
all of New England, and yeah, it's really cool to bring some New England blues down to Memphis and to show off for our scene. And it's also exciting for us because we play a style of blues you don't hear enough of. It's called
Correct.
Piedmont style country blues.
Right. Yeah, we're going to talk about that in a little bit. But, you know, how you feel about going down there? You've been down there before. Talk a little bit about what it's like, the excitement, the enthusiasm. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
It's exciting. I think one of the things I like the best is that it's like a convention of blues musicians from around the world. So you get to
Right.
meet up with people from everywhere, because
Right.
it's an international competition, so not just regional. So, you know, you'd be in these showcase rooms, they're packed with people. You talk to somebody to your right, and it's like, oh, I'm this Israeli blues band. And like
Wow.
and another guy's like, oh, I'm in this Australian solo duo band. And you're like, whoa. And then you know, it's just a great place to meet people that you would never see all in one place. And then it's exciting. The competition can be a little stressful, and it's exciting. We've gone there 3 times as our band, Erin Harpe and the Delta Swingers, made it to the semifinals twice. Erin has gone once by herself,
Right.
once with Richard Rosie Rosenblatt on harmonica as a duo, and then this time we're going down as Erin Harpe's Country Blues Duo, which is our country blues duo.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's you can only do 3 times as a band or 3 times as a solo duo. So this is our last time here at the IBCs. After
Yeah.
that, Erin's going to have to be a judge.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know
was
about
thinking that. I wasn't aware of that, but I was thinking next year, you know, maybe come, gee, we won the Vermont Blues Society.
No, well, we've you're only allowed to do it.
I know.
We're like going to be grandfathered out, but
I think so. The only
it's
way to get
fine. I think we've learned everything you can learn. We're the most ready we've ever been of any time we've been down there. Because every time you go down, you learn something. You know, like because you get your scores and you get to read what all the judges said,
Right.
and it's interesting.
Now, how
But-
does that work? You get to play, you know, certain venues for a certain amount of time? Like, how
Yeah.
far in advance
You
are
know-
you aware of what you're going to be doing?
Think about it like it's almost like a race. Your mark get set, go. So like we get there on Tuesday, and then Wednesday morning we have to check in to tell them we're in Memphis.
Right.
We have to go to the orientation, and then then they tell us the venue. Like we don't find out the venue until the afternoon,
Wednesday
and then
afternoon of that week.
And then the thing starts at 5 p.m. is when the competition starts. So they
Now,
tell
are there
you what.
different venues? Like,
So you've been to Beale Street?
I have not. That's,
Okay, well-
that's one of my next trips.
So Beale Street's the
Yep.
main street there in
Yep.
Memphis, and every venue on Beale Street is going to be an IBC venue.
Wow.
Probably
So-
about 30 venues or
Yeah.
so.
And it's, there's certain stages that are big, and they put like the 7-piece bands there, and then there's like sometimes they do a little alternative venue for the. Last time I was there I was solo, so they had a tiny little stage, and everybody that was at my venue was solo. So that was so neat, though, because
Wow.
you don't see, I don't get to see a lot of solo acoustic blues.
Well,
Duo doesn't mean it has to be acoustic. You
Right,
can be.
correct.
One
Electric.
time we were, our friends from Connecticut, they played drums and electric guitar. So I was like, wow, we're competing against anybody who is a duo that's in the duo part of the competition. And then there's the whole other part that's the band. So
there are multiple stages going on at the same time. So
Oh,
you
yeah.
can't be playing at one place. So as far as the voting goes, are there judges at each location? Or is
Yeah,
it-
Yes.
so
you
there's 3 judges at each location. The first 2 nights are the quarterfinals, so everybody is in the quarterfinals. So you're guaranteed to play Wednesday and Thursday. So after Thursday night, you get your scores, and whoever the winners are advance to the semifinals on Friday night.
Okay.
And then the venues get bigger where they have this stuff. And then the finals are at the Orpheum Theater on Saturday. So that's a really big venue, holds like 5,000 people or
Wow.
something. So each day you get, the first 2 days you get to relax. The first night you're like, yes, that's a lot of fun. Then Thursday night comes, it's the second night of the quarterfinals. You're like, okay, this is cutthroat now. We got to advance. And so a lot of people don't advance, and so that's when the partying starts.
Well, I was going to say there's a lot of side stuff going on.
Yeah. Well,
And
you know,
I've known some of the bands that have gone down there, and
Well,
it seems like they're
and
playing
it's not just-
all the time.
it's not just the competition. There's a whole kind of blues circus happening around the competition where a lot of record labels will take on a club and have showcase of their artists that are on the label. So we're on
Right.
VizTone, so we're going to be playing at the VizTone showcase.
at the Rum Boogie
Yeah.
on Friday and
Friday.
Saturday night.
Nice.
So after the competition is over, we go over there, we see all of our VizTone label mates, and we all get to jam on stage together.
That's awesome.
And it's going to be
And
really
then
fun.
different, like Honer Harmonica has a showcase club, so they have harmonica showcasing acts going on all night,
Wow.
which is separate from the competition.
And then in the mornings, they have all these other things going on, like they have talks, they have these speed dating things where you can meet people in the industry. They have some workshops.
Nice.
Doug
Yeah.
McLeod is going to be there. I don't know if you know him. He's a great
What's the name?
Doug McLeod.
Yes,
He
yes.
does
Acoustic
acoustic
blues.
blues,
Acoustic blues, yeah.
and he's doing a workshop and a book signing. So there's stuff going on from the time you wake up until the time you
Well,
choose to go to bed, because
The bars close at 5 a.m.
That's right.
But
And-
if you're in there, you can stay till 7. So it's tough. This is something you do when you lose. Once
Yeah.
Right,
once
right.
you're
If
knocked
you get
out of the
knocked out,
competition,
yeah.
and there's an absinthe bar with the real absinthe. That's like things get a little shiny. If you have a couple of those, it's pretty
The
interesting.
real deal?
The real deal.
Yeah, the real deal, and that's our.
Now, is that under the table? Or because I know
No, you
absinthe-
can't.
No,
You
it's
can-
up the stairs.
They
though.
changed
It's upstairs.
they changed the laws probably 10 or 15 years ago.
Yeah,
where
and
they
I
get
think
the real stuff.
they dumbed it down or did something to it because it used to be,
But they pour it
really
over the
bad.
sugar cube and all
Yeah.
that,
Wow.
and that's been our thing that we do every year.
Yeah, so if
we
we
get
lose,
knocked
that's
out, we
where
go
we go.
there and we have a
Like
cheers.
absinthe
Good job.
Right. So if you win, you're back on Sunday. If you lose, you're there for a month.
That's right.
Just partying.
Yeah.
Well, Memphis is a great place to hang out.
bet.
So it wouldn't be
I
a
know.
bad thing.
We've contemplated moving there, but we're not going anywhere.
Cool. Now that's just some of the current events. Let's kind of roll back the clock a little bit and talk about some of the evolution of your music, because for one thing, you've got 3 different personas. You are the
2.5, too.
You have Love Whip, and
That's
then you
right.
have with the Erin and Jim country duo.
Country blues duo,
Yeah.
CBD, good for what ails you.
Good, yeah. And what's your third one is
Erin Harpe and the Delta
the
Swingers,
Delta Swingers,
which is like the electric version of CBD, kind of.
right.
Yeah.
More people.
Right.
So we started out with Love Whip, Erin and I, which is kind of a world music psychedelic dance rock band, and we've put out 5 albums
Right.
on our own record label over the years. And then when I met Erin, she was already playing this acoustic blues style, and she had a really great record collection and tape collection. And I was going through some of her cassette tapes that she had back in the day, and she had gone to Africa when she was in college and brought back all of these cool cassette tapes of they were trying to take a rock band format but play traditional African music. So a hi-hat would be the shaker.
Oh, okay.
The guitar parts would be the thumb piano, and with a driving bass line, and usually 2 or 3 part harmony singing over top of that. So they're kind of like trying to like rock it up, kind of like a James Brown funk band, electric, but using these African rhythms. So these are the cassettes that she brought back. And
That was
like
the inspiration for the
inspiration
original seed
for
of
original-
the band, but we branched out and it pretty much became all different kinds of dance music. We were really interested in getting people to dance and
Afrobeat,
Yep.
ska and reggae, Latin music,
disco.
I was listening to something
Funk.
the other day, and it sounds like what you're talking about. I think the name is something like Wahoo or Hoo-Wah or something like that.
Is it a band or a style?
No, it was the name of the band, and they played that kind of music.
Maybe they're from
they were
Hawaii?
on, we all know the great Holly Harris. We have to give
Yeah.
Holly a little
Holly.
plug,
Yeah.
Saturday night, 91.9. But previous to that, on Beale Street Blues, they were featuring this artist, and I happened to catch maybe the last 10 or 15 minutes, and it sounds like what you're talking about, because I guess the guy wears kind of an African garb, and I guess it's one of his turbans or something that he wears as one of his trademarks.
Oh, wow.
And they were talking about that, and they were saying, well, like, do you make the turban or the turban make you? And it turned out it was like the turban made him, because it was like religious and all that other kind of stuff. And they were playing music that sounded almost exactly what you're talking about. But it's kind of a weird name, like hoo ha ha woo or something like that. One of
gonna
those
check
kinds
that
of
out.
bands. Probably if you put in something variation, it might pop up. But go back to Beale Street Blues. Did you listen to that show? It precedes Holly.
Okay.
Yeah, from 4 to 6, and they play all Beale Street music and a lot of local stuff down there.
Cool.
On the UMass radio station.
Yeah, UMB
All right.
91.9. That's
check
cool.
that out.
Yeah. Now, how long have you been together? Been together as a duo when you
Since
started
like
out?
1946.
No, we
Okay.
started in 1928,
No.
and no, the
we-
music is from 1920s.
During the Depression, right?
And
During the
30s,
Depression,
yeah.
you survived the Depression. And
Yeah. Well,
Cool.
we
The
started-
first gig that Erin and I ever played together was January 25th, 1997 at the Kirkland Cafe in
Wow.
Somerville, Massachusetts.
Wow, but who's counting, right?
That's right.
Do you know what time it was? When
It
the
was
show started?
we went on second, so we
Wow.
probably went on at like 9:45.
Wow. Now, had you known each other before that? It was just a
Yes.
coincidental meeting? Or?
No.
I was in another band that was kind of like a Talking Heads punk rock band.
Cool.
Erin was doing her acoustic blues. We started dating. I started trying to arrange some gigs for Erin, where I'd kind of like book her some gigs,
Uh-huh.
and she would get paid, a small amount of money, and they'd always give beer and dinner for two. So I started going to Erin's acoustic gigs, acoustic
to
blues
eat, right?
gigs, just to sit there and drink beer. And it's like, this is the best. And so that was always on the back burner, her acoustic blues stuff. And Love Whip was going pretty strong. We got involved with the Talking Heads rhythm section, Chris France and Tina Weymouth,
Cool.
where they produced
Wow.
a couple songs of ours. We opened for their band, the Tom Tom Club, and we opened for the B-52s. We had a song on the TV show Shameless on Showtime. I had a 33-second clip on that show. So this was all happening, and in the background, Erin was doing acoustic blues and doing occasional gigs that way.
Mm-hmm.
At one of these gigs that Erin was doing, I think it was on near Fenway Park. Might have been the old House of Blues. Had a small little front room at the back
I
of the day.
remember that, yeah.
And Erin was playing. Rosie Rosenblatt from used to be Tone Cool Records, now Viztone Records,
Right.
came to the show and said to Erin's like, "Hey, you're great. I want to sign you to my label."
Right.
No, well, he didn't say that. He didn't
Kind
say
of.
that because we didn't get signed for a couple more years, if you remember, but because we didn't have any recordings. But no, he basically, which is very out of the ordinary, he said, "Hey, I want to be in your band."
That's what he said.
So,
okay.
because we had a buddy that was going to play drums with us, but there's more of a story than that. So we had Love Whip, and that was our only band. And like Jim said, I was doing solo gigs here and there, and
then Love Whip got asked to play South by Southwest down in
Austin,
Austin.
Texas.
So we went down to Austin. We were going to do Love Whip. It was a trio at the time. Well, it's a trio now, but it's gone bigger and smaller. But so right before we left, this guy John Conquest reached out to me and he said, "Oh, hey, I've got your solo. I have one solo CD that I made in our basement. We recorded it on a mini disc player. It's my Blues Roots." And he had found that, so we ended up playing as I went down there and played a blues set.
Well, he was running a simultaneous festival alongside South by Southwest called Not South by Southwest,
Wow,
which
okay.
was based on acoustic blues and Americana music. And so he had a little small festival happening at 3 different clubs with rotating sets. So he got Erin like 3 or 4 gigs that week that we were down in South by Southwest doing her acoustic blues stuff.
Yeah.
So Love Whip is playing our gigs, and we're with like 10,000 other bands. It was going over pretty well. We played a John Waters, not John Waters.
No.
What was that guy? The pornography guy. We played some kind of film opening for
Yeah, I know what you mean. Right.
some guy,
Ron
Ron Jeremy.
Ron Jeremy.
Yeah.
And it was weird. And so, so all of the Love Up gigs were a little weird. But Erin's gigs for the Not South by Southwest, there's all these like European radio DJs and all these other people were there because they really loved this acoustic blues and Americana scene. And we're
Yeah.
like, wow, these people love this stuff. You know, like we should really maybe start pushing that more and see what
Right.
happens.
Yeah, so then the next year we went back as a duo, and then the year after that we were like, maybe we should start a band. And that was right around when Rosie came to that gig in Boston and said, "Oh, I'll be in your band." And we were like so new. I'd been playing blues since I was growing up with my dad, but we were so new to doing it on stages that I was just floored by the fact that the record label owner, great harp player, he wanted to join our band. So
Right.
we.
Rosie's the best. I mean,
Yeah.
you know, not only is a great harmonist, he's just a great guy.
I mean, I
Just
don't
a
know.
great human being.
I think within 6 months we did the Boston Blues Challenge.
No, we did it like right away. Yeah,
Pretty
within
much
like
within
3
6
months.
months of rehearsing with Rosie, we
Yeah.
got to the
Started in the spring.
We won the Boston Blues Challenge
Right.
pretty
Spring
quickly.
of 2010 is when we started the band, and then I think September, October we did the Boston Blues Challenge. It was at Johnny D's,
Right, Somerville.
rest in peace, the best venue ever.
Yep.
And I couldn't believe we won. And then we went to the IBC's first
to
time
Memphis.
in 2011.
Made it to the semifinals.
And we've been going about every other year since then.
Right.
But the last time we went was 2019.
Well, now you mentioned it a little bit. I was going to jump in there about you know, your roots, and you said that you learned a lot of blues from your family when you were growing up. You were exposed to the blues, and chat a little bit about that. You said you were exposed with your dad.
Yep. My dad plays this country blues. Well, country blues is kind of a bigger term.
Right.
It means basically acoustic blues. So under country blues could be Delta blues, maybe hill country blues, but this kind we play is called Piedmont.
Mm-hmm.
And so my dad was always playing the guitar around the house. Every morning he would get up and start. That was like the first thing in the morning. What he liked to do: play some music, sing, and then he played at a lot of venues too. Sometimes I'd go see him play. But there was a scene in Washington, D.C. around the
And that's where you're
acoustic
from?
Piedmont blues.
You were from Washington?
I'm from Maryland,
Maryland,
right out,
okay.
about 15 minutes down the road
Okay.
from Washington, D.C.
Right.
Prince George's County. And yeah, there's some pretty famous people are in that scene that I got to see growing up, including Cephas and Wiggins.
Heard of
And
them.
John Cephas and Phil Wiggins were a duo. John Cephas was one of the elders in the scene, and he has passed away, but Phil Wiggins recently wrote a book about this scene, and what's it called?
Deep Bitter Blues or something like that. I can't remember it.
Bitter.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah. Anyway, so I grew up with that in the background, but I didn't actually learn how to play blues because I was trying to be different. So
Were you
I
singing, or when did you start to play the guitar and
I-
start playing instruments?
I decided to pick up the classical flute.
Okay.
That's what I learned how to play in
Okay.
in school from like fourth grade up.
Wow.
So that gave me a good background. I can read music and stuff like that. But
But what about there's a guitar story?
yeah,
though?
through that experience, I realized, oh, the guitar story. Oh, okay. So I was in high school. I was a flautist, and I had a boyfriend or a guy at school that I liked, and he was an actor. So he knew all the words to Alice's Restaurant, if you're familiar.
Sure. It's appointment 3 times a day. I listen to it on UMB. They
Well,
play it 9,
at-
12, 3, and 6. So I listen to it 4 times every Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving.
Oh yes, exactly.
It's
So I
appointment
was
listening.
big fan of
Arlo Guthrie.
Arlo. Yes,
Yeah.
and he's in Massachusetts.
He's a local guy. Yeah, I saw him in concert many years ago.
Yeah. So anyway, that was he said, I know all the words to Alice's Restaurant. I wish I knew how to play guitar, or I knew somebody that knew it. And I said, my dad knows that song. I'm going home. Dad, I need to learn this song like today. So, and then he said,
Well, it's
you
just
know,
a pretty strum. I mean, it's basically
no,
all-
it's not. It's a
It's-
Piedmont blues song,
Really?
basically. It's finger
Really?
style. So that's the other thing about
So he
Piedmont.
sits there
It's
and
finger
picks
style.
for like 18 and a half minutes. He just sits
Oh, yeah.
there
Well,
and
I think so, because I think it's just a loop. But anyway,
Wow.
so I went home to my dad. Dad, you got to learn this one. He's like, well, that's not a very easy song.
Really?
That's a finger style song. It's got syncopation and
Yep.
it's got, he's like, I'll show it to you, but I don't know if you're going to be able to learn it that quickly, because it was like the end of 12th grade. We were about to graduate. So once I started getting into learning it, like I knew a few chords and stuff like that. I knew how to strum some stuff. But anyway, I learned this fingerstyle song in like a week. I mean, I'm
Wow.
sure I wasn't that good at it, but
Right.
I picked it up enough that I was like, pretty much forgot about the boy, and we did perform it. But after that, I was just like so intrigued by I just
Wow.
went full steam into playing guitar like all day long.
right. What about you? What's your evolution?
As a bass player, I had basically a clunk on the head when I was 20 years old, and it's like, I want to play bass, and so I went.
Really?
Got a bass. I had a tax return check. Went down to Daddy's Junkie Music in Boston.
Sure.
I was a college student. I bought a bass and an amp, and just made a whole bunch of noise.
But what's the impetus for that? Because why? You were trying to be
It's,
a writer,
Yeah, I was.
and he
I
was
was
very lonely. Because
I was a bit of a lonely poet. I would
Okay.
be sitting I was living in a group house with a bunch of people, and after we get back from school, college, they'd get in the living room, start jamming on instruments. I go into my room and like try to write some poetry, and I'm just like, this is so lonely. It's so terrible.
Was it good stuff? Was
No.
it good? No.
I mean, it was existential dread,
Was it?
existential
Okay.
difficulty. Like,
Right.
oh, how my life, the world, everything sucks. So that's when I was like, well, I want to do what they're doing. This is much more communal. I want to get and play some music. And I was always a huge music fan. So I got a bass, got an amp, made a lot of noise, made all my roommates upset with me.
Why the bass?
Because I thought it'd be easier. It had only 4 strings.
Oh, I thought it was because you always could
Well,
pick out the bass when you were
I could
listening.
pick out the bass when I was listening to music. But then I was at a party, a mass art party. I wasn't going to mass art. I was in the bathroom line. There was like 20 people in line for the bathroom. Started talking to the guy behind me, and he's like, after a while, it's like we start talking about music because it's a long line for the bathroom. Turns out he's a songwriter. He's going to mass art. He's got a bunch of songs. He's like, oh, why don't you come over this weekend? You got a bass. Maybe I'll show you some of my songs. So went over. He showed me like 10 or 12 songs. I couldn't really play at all. But I started practicing with him, and I learned his 12 songs. And so all of a sudden, within 9 months of buying the bass, I had gigs. But I could only play those songs. If I had to play anything else, I was like, whoa, I can't do that. But that was fine.
And that was a great band. It was called Usalos,
Usalos.
and they were
Really?
pretty amazing. Great songs.
Play the
and-
Boston scene?
Oh,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would play
Down
all-
the Rat and
Of course.
Katie's and
Bon
all of
Ratties,
those
all
places.
over the place.
Yeah.
It made it up to Portland, Maine,
Wow.
and Rhode Island, Providence, and New York City.
Nice.
Did
Where's-
the whole circuit.
It's a lot of stories.
Yeah, it goes back a long time. But so it turned out, so I was playing his songs, which is great. Then after about 4 or 5 years, that band imploded. I was bouncing around, not doing anything for a while.
That's
and
right when I met you.
when I
It
met
ended
Erin-
like a couple of months before I met you.
I was like, oh, we get along well. Why don't we try to start a band? And this is when it comes back to those tapes that Erin brought back from Africa. It's like,
Right.
why don't we take some of these songs and we'll do like the Police did with reggae.
Okay.
We'll make some pop versions of these kind of Afrobeat type songs that are more accessible to people. And so we started learning the stuff together, and then that's how Love Whip started. It was originally called Love Handles because we'd go down to the practice space and drink a lot of beer.
You must have seen me at the beach one day.
It wasn't
and
named
said,
after
oh,
me.
I'm going to name this group Love Handles.
Then
Yeah.
we got a little serious. We're like, that's not going to work. We got to name it something a little bit more edgier. Love Whip.
That's a cool name. That is a cool name. Now, did you trademark that? Because I think if I did
No.
a search on that, there are other love whippers out there, I
Well,
believe.
I don't think there's a band,
I'm in
but
the
there's
process of trademarking it, but it costs money.
There's a guy that had the lovewhip.com, and actually I think he's a blues
He's
harmonica
a blues
player.
harmonica player down in North Carolina.
And it just came up for sale, and they wanted so much for it.
Wow.
$3,000 for us
Yeah,
to buy
something crazy.
lovewhip.com.
I'm like,
Wow.
we're in music. We don't have that kind of cash for
Right.
for
you're,
a
you're a
website.
musician. What restaurant
Yeah.
do you work in?
I mean,
right?
it's not.
Yeah, really.
Yeah, and people don't really, we have a great website, but people don't use website. It's, you know what I mean? I
Right.
wouldn't put that much money into a website because people are on Facebook and
Right.
stuff like that these days. So
Right. Now, as far as the style that you chose, I mean, you touched upon that a little bit. As a bass player, did you grow up listening to the rock bass players? Did you get into
Oh, yes.
jazz or
No,
any?
Mostly blues influenced classic rock bass players when I was a real little kid.
For whom? Who would
Oh,
you?
like Creedence and Led Zeppelin and the Rolling
Okay, those-
Stones, Deep
okay.
Purple, list everything.
Classic rock.
Classic rock, and that was until I was like 15, and then I grew up in upstate New York, and it was the mid 80s or so there was like an influx of like alternative and underground punk rock type stuff.
Okay.
So I got into more kind of English music, English rock bands coming over. And then when I moved to Boston in the late 80s to go to college, there was an incredible original underground music scene in Boston. And so I was like, I'm not going to listen to commercial music anymore. I'm going to dive straight in to all this stuff because there was just so much good music of all styles happening in
Right.
Boston.
No, I know from different styles of music. I know that people can play rock guitar, and they would have a hard time playing like jazz guitar or rock drumming. Jazz drumming is different. How similar or different is like the bass going into other music genres like
Well,
jazz,
So for
example?
the
Is it
styles
easy to
that-
make that kind of? What is the difference?
jazz is an improvisational type of music. So
Okay.
and you have to swing.
you have to be able to improvise on the spot,
Okay.
with the people around you. We're doing more song-based music, so there's a lot of repetition going on. And
Okay.
most of the bands I've been in, it's song-based instead of improvisational-based.
Oh, okay, that's a good answer. Yeah.
There are some elements in Delta Swingers and in Love Whip where we have parts of the show where we get improvisational, but it's kind of, Erin's a very great music director, so it's kind of arranged actually, even though the audience may not realize that. But it's not like a jam band where there is just incessant soloing going on.
Okay, that's interesting to know because
Not a lot of bass solos.
No, I'm kind of against bass solos. I do love jazz bass players, but it's not. I'm not going to do that.
So I remember a seminal moment for me. I was big into jazz. I used to practically live at Scullers.
Oh, yeah.
I
We've
lived
been
at
there.
Scullers, and been there, done there, seen it all. And one of the players who I thought was very interesting, and you might find it too, is a guy named Wayman Tisdale.
I've heard the name. No.
Wayman Tisdale was a professional basketball player,
Wow.
and he was like Shaquille O'Neal. He was a big boy. He was like 6'10", 6'11", big boy. And then all of a sudden, I found out that he played bass. And they
Must
started
have had massive
that's a-
hands.
they started playing his music on the jazz station they used to have on I think it was 91.9 played 99.1 played jazz every Sunday. So anyway, I'd hear his stuff. So I went to see him one night, and I had some connections in the radio world, so I got to meet him and all that other kind of stuff. He actually gave me a pair of his sneakers, autographed a pair of
Were they like
sneakers
this
for me,
big?
right? But he was playing, and this is guy like 6'10". I mean, he's enormous, right? His hands were like this, and he would like curl over the bass and all you saw was hands.
Acoustic or
Like
electric
a
bass?
stand-up bass.
No, over
Electric
the,
bass?
the electric bass, and all you saw was his fingers. But
Long.
he could play that damn thing to the point where you didn't know whether he was a basketball player who played bass or a bass player who played basketball.
That's so cool.
He was absolutely phenomenal, and he was the nicest guy. He was out talking to the people and all that, but that's kind of a bass moment, or where he was just such a great guy, and you should check him out. Check out his style. And the other one I think was Nathan East. Is Nathan?
Yep, Nathan East.
Nathan East. I hung around with Nathan East for a little bit over at Scullers, and he was talking bass and all of that stuff. But I just didn't know the differences between playing different styles with the guitar and drums. I know there's a lot of difference. So I just was curious about the bass, making that kind of a transition.
Jazz players
That's
improvise.
That's a good answer. Now, as far as where your music is now, do you have any plans on where you're going to take your music? Anything coming up?
We're
I know
going to go
we'll
to
talk about your
Spain,
gigs and
hopefully,
all
in
that other kind of
October.
You
stuff.
mean where in the world or
No,
musically?
just like, is your music going to evolve? You're going to
Oh.
continue to evolve, obviously. But
Oh, yeah.
what might be on the radar for you guys going forward? Expanding your reportoire, different
We
styles.
have all kinds of stuff in the back
Well-
burner. We're focused on IBCs right now.
Okay.
But right after that, we're kind of like overdue for another album for the blues, for getting an album to Viztone. So that's
Okay.
going to probably be a mixture of acoustic and electric stuff. We haven't decided if we should do a whole acoustic album and a whole electric album,
Yeah.
or put them
I-
both together.
There are a lot of ideas floating around right now, but nothing is, I haven't actually, so like Jim said, I'm a music director, but I also have produced the last few albums that we've done.
Okay.
So when I get ready to do an album, I have to sit down and start really looking at songs, like something we want to learn, something maybe write a song like this or like that. So I have a lot of those ideas kind of put in places where I can find them. But I would like to do some collaborations, so there's some people that I'm looking at bringing into the next recording for
Cool.
special guests. And also, so that's with the blues. We have, some acoustic stuff we want to record and some electric stuff we want to record.
What about writing? Who does the writing, if you've done some writing?
And no, I was going to, and we're going to do some Love Whip stuff too, actually,
Okay.
some
I'm
recordings.
sorry.
But but I do most of the writing, but a lot of the songs that we also do are just kind of curated. Like I find these old songs, and I do my own take on them, rearrange them.
No doubt about that.
Arrange them for acoustic guitar, the finger style. A lot of the songs that I do in blues are from my dad's repertoire or from a repertoire of people that my dad played with. Like we did that song Step It Up and Go. That's a new
Right.
song to our set. We learned that after we got asked to play the John Jackson Piedmont Blues Festival,
Down
which
in Virginia.
is another one of the older generation of Piedmont blues players that was around Washington, D.C. when I was growing up. He did that song, and
Cool.
that's an old Blind Blake song. So, listening to old recordings, listening to new recordings, sometimes I like to look at how different people put together their versions of a song, and then I say, I'll take that, and I'll do this, and then it'll be my version.
Who's your go-to? One of those, if you had to take a couple of CDs with you out to the desert island, you could only play a couple. Who would you pick to take with you?
Oh my gosh, that would be
That's
a
a tough one.
constantly changing thing. I would really not want to be in that situation, but
Let's say for the first 2 days.
Well, if it's an island, I'm going to bring reggae.
yeah, that's a good point.
You could rotate. You have to start off with two, and
Can
then
the
you can go
island
down
be
to-
Jamaica?
Oh, pick one.
Well, Memphis Minnie has over 200 songs, and she's one of my favorites.
I love
so
Memphis Minnie.
I would definitely take Memphis Minnie, and Bonnie Raitt. She's amazing. I love her stuff.
Did you get into any of this stuff? Maybelle and like Odetta. Did you ever get into any of those kinds of things?
Yeah, I've listened to that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that stuff. But what's kind of closest to my heart is all this country blues and Geeshie Wiley and Elvie Thomas and Tommy Johnson and a lot of those artists didn't record a lot of songs, so I wouldn't want to just pick one artist and one album, because then I'd be stuck with like, 8 songs.
Who else is kind of carrying that torch? I mean, you don't see a lot of it out there. I know that you play a lot. Mark T. Small plays a lot of Americana stuff. Our friend Alana,
Yep.
Alana Katz will do that. Who else, let's say on a bigger scale or national level, or kind of playing the type of music that you play? Because you don't hear a lot of it.
No, you don't hear as much as I would like. So that's one of the reasons why we're excited to bring it down to Memphis, because,
Right.
people need to hear it. But also, I'm afraid that people don't know enough about it for us to get the good scores, but hopefully we will in Memphis. Fingers crossed. But somebody I met a few years ago who's just really blowing up on the scene is named John Tavius Willis.
Sure.
And he is
Yep.
in his 20s still,
Young
and
kid.
he was Taj Mahal,
Kinda discovered him a little bit.
and took him on tour with Taj and Keb Mo. And we got to open for him over at the Bull Run.
Yep.
And we did a little video together and stuff.
Nice.
I got to teach with John Tavius Willis, because I do workshops on country blues guitar, and he was at this blues week they have down in West Virginia, so that's where I met him. But if you hadn't checked him out, people should check him out. He's really amazing, and talk about stage presence. He gets up and walks around the room with his guitar, and he's just amazing.
Cool. Well, I think this might be an appropriate time to take a little break and have people listen to a little bit more of music
All right.
and to talk about it. And when we come back, we can talk about how people can get a hold of you, some of the gigs that you have coming up, and some of the places where you play and all of that stuff. Okay?
Great.
All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, buckle up, and we shall see you in a couple of minutes.
Yes, baby. I've been drinking. I know I shouldn't come by no more, but I found myself in trouble. I had no place else to go. I got some whiskey from the bar, got some cocaine from a friend. I've got to keep on believing, darling, she will be back in my arms again. 'Cause I'm guilty, honey, I'm guilty. I'll be guilty for the rest of my life. How come I just never do what I'm supposed to do? Nothing I try to do ever really turns out right. You know how it is. With me, baby. You know I just can't stand myself. It takes a whole lot of medicine, yeah, for me to pretend that I'm someone else, yeah. Ooh, little Ma Rainey. Don't be a low-down alligator. One, two, three, four. Down in Hogan's Alley lives Miss Nancy Ann. She's always having problems with her man. And I heard Miss Nancy say, why do you treat your gal this way? I was in the alley the other night. Miss Nancy and her man had just had a fight. He hit Miss Nancy across her head, and when she came to her feet, she said, you low down alligator, watch me sooner or later, gonna catch you with your britches down. You abuse me and mistreat me, dog around and beat me, still I'm gonna hang around. You can take all my money, black out both of my eyes. Give it to that other woman, come home and tell me lies. You low down alligator, watch me sooner or later, gonna catch you with your britches down. You low down alligator, just watch me sooner or later, gonna catch you with your britches down. You abuse me and mistreat me, dog around and beat me, so I'm gonna hang around. Well, you can take all my money, black out both of my eyes. Give it to that other woman, come home and tell me lies. You low down alligator, watch me sooner or later, gonna catch you with your britches down. I mean, catch you with your britches down. got to step it up and go. All right. I'm an old woman named after my mother. Your man is another child who's grown old. Streams of thunder, lightning with fire. His whole house would have burned down a long time ago. Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living, just a hard way to go. When I was a young girl, well, I had me a cowboy. It wasn't bad to look at, just a free rambling man. Now it's been a long time. No matter how I try, the years just flew by like a broken down dam. Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go. Ooh, ooh. Flies in the kitchen, I can hear 'em, they're buzzing. And I ain't done nothing since I woke up today. Hey, how the hell can a person go to work in the morning, woo, come home in the evening and have nothing to say? Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go, hard way. Make me an angel, flies from Montgomery. Make me a poster of an old rodeo. Just give me one thing that I can hold on to. Believe in this living is just a hard way to go, hard way to go, hard way to believe in this living. Woo! Yeah. To believe in this living is just a hard way to go, hard way to go, hard way to go. To believe in this living. Don't you know it's just a hard way to go? Yeah, 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 yeah. You were asking what else we have. We got a train whistle. Got a song about a train.
Next stop, Kenmore.
Look out the window, see the highways roll. Well, Casey said, before I die, said the 2 more trains I'd like to ride. Well, people, I wonder, what can they be? Southern Colorado and the Santa Fe. Well, Casey said, before I die, well, there's 2 more drinks that I'd like to try. Well, people, I wonder, what can they be? A cup of coffee and a cup of tea. And the train. Well, Casey said, before I die, gonna fix up this old train so the bums can ride. Well, if they ride on the ride, let 'em put their faith in the hands of God.
Wow, guys, once again, your music was incredible.
Thank you.
So, I'm sure the people at home wish that the show could be an hour and a half because they're going to like skip right through the talking and go right to the music.
Oh, good. No, just kidding.
One other quick question I want to ask you about, some of your style. Where did you start picking up some of the accoutrements, if you would, about when you were playing? Like you get the tin whistle,
My toys, our
you get
toys.
the persona, your glasses. Was that something that has evolved over time, or did you start off that way, or what? How did those
No.
toys come about?
No. Well, I guess it all goes back to my dad gave me this contraption that you put around your neck. It's kind of like a harmonica holder,
Right.
but it's built for a kazoo. So it
Really?
has a little hole, and you put the kazoo in there. So that enabled me, because I have tried to learn how to play harmonica, and it's didn't come quickly enough. So I said, oh, I got this kazoo thing. I'll put it on, see what it is. So I played with that for a while, and that became a hit. Everybody loves the kazoo.
Up.
Up to a point.
To a point.
So, I had the kazoo on the holder, and we'd play that for some gigs. And then I think Jim started first of all, once I started playing kazoo, everybody in the world started giving me kazoos for presents. I have a wooden kazoo, a metal kazoo, a giant kazoo that looks like a trumpet, all kinds of kazoos. But Jim found this thing which we call the kazoozaphone, and it's got this horn that's on top, and that makes it go right into the microphone. It's really cool. So that was a thing.
And we make our own Erin Harpe official kazoozaphones.
That's
now
right. We have
Really?
that we
personalized ones on our website,
Nice.
I think
erinharpe.com.
doesn't your grandchild
My
have one?
granddaughter. Matter of fact, we have guests in our audience today. We have George Carr and Bob Taccio in the audience today, and George Carr was nice enough to give my granddaughter Michaela it was a kazoo. I think it was a kazoozaphone.
It is.
Yep.
Is it
An Erin Harpe
kazoozaphone?
kazoozaphone.
Yeah, we got
A kazoozaphone,
it was
a nice
kazoos, and now we
kazoozaphone.
sell the kazoozaphones.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we haven't seen her yet to give it to her, but she's going to love it.
Yes.
She's going to love it. But I know
And
you.
so
you-
the kazoozaphone we had, and then we had to get Jim a toy. So we
Yeah.
got him. We actually, the train whistle at our Delta Swingers shows, we have our harmonica players go do that whole train thing.
Wow.
But we've been playing a lot as a duo starting in the pandemic. We were like just
Couldn't
us.
see anybody,
so.
yeah.
So we got him that whistle, and people seem to like that. People
a-
want us
it's a-
to sell that as the merch table.
Yeah, we could do that. Could carve them ourselves in all our free time.
But other than that, I'm kind of into vintage fashion. So I love the sunglasses. I got
Yep.
my flower.
I was going to
you
say.
know.
I was going to ask you where the flower came from. Is that any particular story
Holiday.
behind that, or Billie Holiday?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, I just
Did Edith Piaf do that as well? Didn't she have a rose?
think
La
she.
Vie en
Yeah, that
Rose?
was.
I
It's a
think
very
La Vie en
20s,
Rose.
30s type of a
Yeah.
hairstyle, and
Yeah.
I just like that style, that old style fashion.
Yeah.
And it's well, it's unique. You know.
It is unique.
And then your lightning
you,
bolt.
And you carry it
Oh, I
well.
have the lightning bolt.
The
yes,
lightning
which
bolt.
is
She goes through all of the bands. She wears that in all three of the bands that we're in. It's the taking care of business.
it's like Elvis. Elvis has the lightning, and it's taking care of business TCB.
Okay.
So I decided for us, it's taking care of boogie.
Taking care of
because
boogie.
we have a boogie band.
Nice. Nice. Now, when you're in the bands, who are some of the folks who play for you when you're the band? When you play with Love Whip and you get a bigger band, is that a stationary band, or do you fill in at time to time, or what?
We don't really, at the moment, well, we have had many people in Love Whip over
Right.
the years. And like I said, we used to have horn players.
Yeah,
We used to go
it's
to
evolved
jazz. We
and
used
changed.
to, most of them were jazz players from the schools around here. And we
Berkeley,
would
yeah.
always go down and see them at
Wally's.
Wally's. What's that
Wow.
other place that got torn down? There was the oldest blue jazz club in Boston. Used to be right.
Paul's Mall, or
It's
No,
by
it's-
the Ruggles police station. They tore it down like 15, 20 years ago.
Connolly's.
Connolly's.
College. Believe it or not, I grew up diagonally across the street from there.
Really?
I did. I grew up. You know where the police headquarters
Yeah,
is?
yeah.
Front door of the police headquarters is a tenement I grew up with. That was my neighborhood.
Oh my God.
Roxbury South and Estelle's. You must know Estelle's
Yep,
and
yep.
Slade's.
Slades, T
I
to
used
Green.
to, I used to sneak in there when I was a kid. I'd walk down and, sneak out at night and walk down to Estelle's and Slade's and see the music in there, I'd see all the Celtics plays would be there. Then Bill Russell bought it at one point.
Yep.
And so I used to go down there and sneak in as a kid and stand at the door and listen to all the stuff down there.
How cool.
Conley's was literally a block away from where we lived, and my uncle used to frequent Connolly's.
As
Little
a
hole in the
patron or a
wall.
player?
Patron.
It was
Little
well,
hole in the wall.
Yeah.
When we were going there in the 90s, it was the oldest
It was.
jazz club in Boston that was in its original
Location.
Yeah, which had a
location.
red door, was a small little place, and I
Yep.
remember it was directly across the street where I was born. There used to be a big Merritt gas station right on the corner of Whittier Street, across from Collins. There was a big gas station. Then there was an alleyway, and I was born in that alleyway. And then up until the time when I was maybe 13, they took that entire area over by eminent domain
Yep.
and wiped everything out from Roxbury Crossing all the way
The whole
down
neighborhood,
almost
yep.
to the south end.
Wow. Wow, it must have
And-
looked so different back
Oh, and where Mass Ave is, where Mass Ave and Tremont Street is, and Mass and
then. Mass and
Columbus,
Cass.
the clubs that were there, they were all jazz clubs and blues clubs on that whole stretch.
Wow.
And this was the day when the women would dress up in their finery, and the men in their Shorty Billups.
Oh, Short
All the
Day.
men look like Shorty, and all the women look like Hattie. And the Cadillacs, and we call them the old pimp mobiles,
Yeah.
would line Mass Avenue between Tremont Street and Columbus Ave. And you could just walk down there and take in the shows. But yeah, a lot different than it is now.
Yeah. Yep.
At least Wally survived, at least
Wally
where it is
survived,
now.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
That's interesting. So
But-
as far as, go ahead, I'm
So,
sorry.
we were talking about who's been. Anyway, back then we'd go down to the jazz clubs and see some horn players that we played with, or some drummers that we played with. They all loved jazz, and then in the van on the way to shows, we'd have to teach them how to not play jazz.
Wow.
Because with the type of African type of stuff, it was all major. You didn't want to play any of those blue notes, So we would listen to Afro pop in the van.
Wow.
But now we have in Love Whip, we have the same drummer as in the Delta Swingers,
Sean
Meehan.
Meehan.
Wow.
And so he can play a set of, like, he knows, like, must be like 60 of our songs, half blues
Nice.
and half Afro pop. I mean, not Afro pop, because we do a lot of pop songs too, that like that song that was on Shameless.
Wow.
But and sometimes we have a sax player, Nancy Lodi, who plays with us, and she was in Love Whip way back in the day, but now she does something else for a living, but she comes back and jams with us sometimes. She played the Jamaica Plain World's Fair. I mean, that's the old festival, the JP Music Fest with us this year. And then in the Delta Swingers, it's Sean and Jim and me, and we have different harmonica players. We've had Jason Novak play with us for
know that
quite a
name,
while. And we've
Rosie.
had Rosie, yep.
Rosie
and
Rosenblatt's played.
we've had a couple of times Shane Sager, who's a really great harmonica player on the scene, who actually his day job is he plays harmonica for Sting.
Yeah.
Wow.
He just did
You should-
103 shows with Sting last year.
Wow, nice.
Crazy.
Wow.
And then sometimes when we travel, we brought musicians from Boston, but in the past. But this past summer, we did a big festival in Wisconsin as the Delta Swingers. So we got Joe Falisco on harmonica, who's a great harmonica player out in the Chicago area,
Nice.
and
And then we played with one of our early Love Whip drummers for that.
yeah. So I mean, there's set people that play with us, but then it's also modular where we can go and get some people to play with us as well, because
Yeah.
we're planning a trip to the UK and Spain in October. So it's going to be the duo, but we're probably going to have some harmonica players play with us as well.
Maybe drummers. We'll
Maybe
see.
drummers too.
We'll see how it goes.
Now, for these overseas trips, do you go to them or do they come to you, or a combination of the two?
It's both, really. Currently since COVID happened, we've done 2 successful tours to the UK, booked by 2 different people. The first guy unfortunately passed away.
Wow.
Well, we don't know.
Well, he
just
kind of
disappeared.
disappeared. He was an older guy, and he just disappeared. We talked to some other artists he worked with, and we can't get in touch with him either. We don't know what happened.
Wow.
And then we worked with another guy, and during COVID, he
retired.
He retired. So now we're working on trying to find a new booking agent for the UK and Europe.
Yeah, usually we like to work with a booking agent over there.
But we do
haven't
booking ourselves too.
we haven't really been asked to go do anything in Europe where they've been able to bring us over.
Mm-hmm.
But we've had a lot of inquiries where it's like, if you're going to be here, we want you. So,
I hear
we
that-
got asked to do a festival in
Portugal.
Portugal,
Wow.
but
But it was during COVID, so it had to be live streamed from home. So if there was no COVID, we could have gone.
Wow. Because I hear the European audience is very enthusiastic
Oh,
about
yeah.
American music.
Yeah.
And I've been to France many times, and I've
We
been
didn't
to
want to come
shows
home.
over there,
We didn't want to
and
come
how enthusiastic they are. I know they love American music and American artists. Well, that's awesome. Now, how can people get a hold of you? How can people find your music, and how can people reach you? And I know you got some CDs, etc. How can people get a hold of that? We're going to put that stuff up on the screen as well.
Oh, cool. Well, if you go to erinharpe.com, you can find everything.
HARPE.
With an E.
ERINHARPE. Oh, they're going to put it on there. Anyway, it's a little bit, everybody thinks it's Harpe or it's Harper, and I forgot the R, but no. Erin Harpe, silent E. So we've got a lot of merchandise because I'm a graphic designer, and Jim is a guy that has a lot of ideas, and he'll come up with ideas and find, oh look, you can get kazoos printed up, for instance. Okay, we got kazoos printed up. So we got kazoos, we got CDs and LPs. Not every album is an LP, but we do have 2 LPs. Meaning,
Right.
the giant records of old.
We have to explain that
Yes,
to anybody
I know.
under like 25.
It's a disc and it spins. And what else do we have? We have a bunch of different designs of T-shirts and
Koozies, lighters, all kinds of fun stuff.
And they can find your music, on the all the traditional
All the
spots.
streaming-
You've got
yep.
streaming services, Spotify, and
All of that.
Find you on YouTube and
Instagram.
and
Oh, I'm on TikTok.
TikTok.
If you want to hear Love Whip stuff, it's lovewhipmusic.com. And that's also on all of the streaming services, Spotify, Apple, all that stuff.
Awesome.
Oh, and a new thing, actually, this is really kind of cool, is Bands in Town. Have you heard of Bands
I
in
have.
Town?
I
So
have.
if you go to our websites and on our calendar where all of our gigs are, at the top you can hit the button and you can follow us on Bands in Town, and
Okay.
that way when we have a show near you, they'll send you a little email.
Right, I get those.
Yep.
I get
so
those.
that's helpful.
Cool. And you've got, obviously your trip to Memphis, and you've got some other things, and, hopefully that, people can get out to get to see you when you come back. And I want to thank you both for coming on today.
Yeah.
I
Thank
hope
you,
we
Frank.
hit a lot of the buttons, and, did we miss anything that you want to yak about? or-
Upcoming shows, we got
Yeah, we're gonna talk
my
about
birthday
that.
party, Saturday, February 4th at the
Yep.
Porch in Medford.
Yep.
It's the Country Blues Duo. And then Saturday, April 1st, Erin Harpe and the Delta Swingers at the Boston Harbor Distillery.
Great venue.
So those are all after Memphis.
Yep.
Before Memphis, we're doing 2 online live stream
Fundraisers.
fundraiser send-off parties that we're going to be live streaming on Facebook, and you can give a donation to our GoFundMe. It's not really a ticket, it's free,
Right.
but if you want to help out, you can do that. So we do have a GoFundMe for Memphis right now.
What's the dates of those, Erin?
So the live streams, we're doing 2 so that it gives people a choice, but also for our friends out over in Europe. So we're doing Thursday, January 19th at 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and then the following Sunday, the 22nd at 2 p.m. for those who, I don't know if that's during
Right.
football, but I hope not.
What's the date? What's that date?
Sunday,
The 22nd.
the 22nd of January.
It might be, but
Yeah.
say
Might be
the
the playoffs or something big.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I know
I
they
know,
have a
it's
bye
usually-
week for the Super Bowl and
It's
all that
just
stuff.
getting
Who
close
knows?
to the Super Bowl.
And
so.
you have individual Facebook pages, right? And then you have pages for your band, right?
Yes.
So they can reach you on
The
that.
blues one
Yep.
is Erin Harpe, Roots and Blues.
Yep.
And then Love Whip is just Love Whip.
Cool. Well, again, thank you both for coming on. And
Thank you, Frank.
love the conversation, and your music obviously speaks for itself. And I like your chances down in Memphis.
Oh,
You know,
thanks.
I think maybe this is the time that you should bring bring your veil, because you might be wearing it, right? Be the bride instead of the bridesmaid, right?
And
You know?
definitely bring an extra liver with you, in
Oh,
in
I'm
your
sure.
suitcase.
What's
I was-
your beverage of choice, if you have one?
I like tequila these days.
Tequila?
Like a tequila, margaritas, or tequila with soda water and lime. Or, if we lose, then it's going to be all absinthe.
What's your drink of choice if you go down there?
Oh, we'll probably get one of those big ass. Are you allowed to say that word?
You can say big
Okay,
ass.
Big ass beers.
Yeah,
They
they're
have the
like
big ass
this-
Oh, the
beers.
Stein, the
64
other
ounces.
barrels. Cool.
You can drink on the streets in Memphis, unfortunately.
Well, that's awesome. Again, it's been so much fun, and maybe sometime in the future you'll come back and play as winners, or if you got new music or anything that you want to showcase, the door is always open. We've had many repeat offenders
Oh, good.
on the show, and we wouldn't be able to do this show if it wasn't for all the great people here at SMAC. I
Yes.
have to thank
Don't talk smack about smack.
Right, I have to thank thank the folks here. Anya. I have to thank our technicians. I have to thank our audience here. We had George Carr and we have Bob Taccio in the audience today. So Luke and Kevin and Anya and a new intern watching today, Amber. We wouldn't be able to do this show without you. And folks, as I always say, it's very important that you go out and support these musicians. You can go out, you can see them, watch them online, contribute to their fundraisers, go out and see the musicians because they play for you. And a lot of times it doesn't cost more than a beer and a pizza in some places. And it's better than staying home. So if you like the music that you heard today, and if you like any of the music that you hear on our show, Holly Harris's show, go out and see them. So my name is Frank Walsh. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you, Erin. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks,
and
Frank.
for everybody here at SMAC, thank you for watching Talkin' Tunes. And as always, tune in and tune on.
Thank you, everybody at home. Now it's time to come out of the studio.